Hey, it's Marshall Tingle with your Superior Ag Insurance Ringside Report for this past week, the week of May 29th through June 4th. So we had some drastically lighter runs go through our auction markets. Last week we had pretty much half of what we had the week before. And I think some of that's going to be just the time of year where the spring run starts to fade out and we come into summer. And I think a lot of it had to do with everybody just utilizing this weather to finish rolling their hay up for Memorial Day weekend. And then some of it's just it's so daggone hot. You can't really stress your cattle that much. You've got to get them up in sunlight to get them to town. So I think you just had a conglomerate of factors coming in on it. But we did sell 8,700 and some odd head of cattle as total statewide. That's right at half of what we sold this time last week. And to put you on a yearly perspective, we're about 3,000 head less than we were this time last year. So not bad, but kind of to be expected. Now, what's feeder cattle market doing? Well, like I said, I think the spring runs are starting to come to an end, and your kind of conditions really having an impact on these cattle. The feeder cattle as a whole sold anywhere from $3 lower to $3 higher as a whole. Now, yearling cattle took a $4 to $6 jump, which is really good. But we're going to talk about that here in a second. That's a really strong sign of everything going down the line. Now, talk about your lightweight cattle, your 4 and 5 weight steers. So your 400-pound steer cattle were $1.60 to $2.04 this past week. I'd say they averaged somewhere in that $1.85 to $1.90 range. Your 5 weight steers, $1.45 to $1.95, and they're going to average out somewhere around that $1.80 to $1.85 mark. So that's back a little bit from what we've been seeing, but not too far back. And I think a lot of it just has to do with the kind of condition coming through there. The flesh and condition on these cattle is having a huge impact on them, as well as them being preconditioned versus right off the cows fixing to go out into hot pasture and stress. Now, let's talk about these yearling cattle. That's what we've been excited about. $4 to $6 higher is what the state called it. Check out some of these numbers. There weren't a whole lot of them that went through the barn this past week, but the ones that did were rocking. So here we go. Here's 62 head of these. These are 844 pounds on the average. These are all blacks, $1.62 flat. Wow. Now, this is what I really like to see. Now, here's 58 head of these. These are going to be heavy 8s, 898 pounds on the average, all black as well, $156.50. Now, this 156 mark, we were pushing to get that last week in the past 2-3 weeks on your light 8s, on your 801s and 790s. Now we're getting it right here at almost 9 weight cattle. That's a really good sign. Now let's compare that to CME Feeder Cattle Index. We have actually smoked the CME this past week. The CME was steady all the way up until Friday, and then it took off like a rocket. So Monday the 30th, you're looking at 153.22 as your CME Feeder Cattle Index. Tuesday the 31st, you're looking at 153.36. Wednesday the 1st was going to be 153.48. Then Thursday we took a little jump on the 2nd to 154.29. But check out Fridays. Ready for this Friday the 3rd? 158.53. So that shows us that the cattle market is fixing to rise here a little bit, or at least it did on Friday. We'll see what it does here as we get into the first of this next week. But here's a really cool rising star I want to talk to you about. So really 2 outstanding sets of Holstein steers. I guess they're pretty much not making Holstein steers anymore, but check these things out now. Here's 57 head of Holstein steers, 896 pounds on the average, 122.75. Check out the big brothers now. Here's 49 head of these, 963 pounds on the average at 120 flat. So it's a really nice trade on the Holstein deal. Now, if you're interested in an LRP policy, there's still a lot of input going in on this front side of these cattle, and there's still a whole lot of time for a lot of you guys before we get these grass cattle finished and get them ready to go on to the feed yard as 8 weights. So if you're interested in the LRP policy, feel free to reach out to us. It's Superior Ag Insurance. Call Ian Thomas at 859-613-2453 or call Damon Reed at 859-200-9188. Look us up on the web, www.superioragins.com. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.